Welcome back to another episode of the Accelerate Your Life podcast. Me today, your host, Mallory. Solo episode, Fast Fit Facts episode. I always kind of forget to just do these for you guys. And then I'm like, oh, I owe them a Fast Fit Facts, something choppy, something good, something short, something they want to know. And guys, I think today's one is one you want to know. We are talking all about the difference between fat loss and weight loss. And honestly, I don't know why it's taken me 75 or whatever episode this is, episodes to do this episode, because this is probably one of the most common topics, questions, things that we get is how do I know if I'm losing fat or weight? Or even just what I see, people don't always know this yet, but what I see, one of the biggest mistakes being is that they're chasing weight loss when their goal is fat loss, but they don't really understand that. And this is why they're not actually seeing the results they want. If that doesn't make sense right now, that's okay because that is exactly what we are going to cover. So I think a good starting point is just that to recognizing, like, have you ever looked at the scale? We all, I mean, yes, every morning, right? Freaked out over a random jump and thought all of your progress went out the window. Okay. Have you? Yeah, I have for sure. Okay. Now, that doesn't need to be the case. Okay. There's a huge difference between weight loss and fat loss. And most people, I think, are chasing the wrong one, especially most women because of how we have been conditioned. We think that whenever we want to change our body, the way to get there, to when we imagine a different body, when we imagine looking better, we just automatically assume, oh, okay, I must need to lose weight on the scale in order to get there. And that's not always the case. So then we're chasing the wrong goal. And this is the exact problem I had. And I would say it's the problem that I probably see for 90% of the consultation calls that I have as a coach. The women that are coming to me, they're stuck and frustrated because they're chasing the wrong goal, but they don't even realize it. So today I'm breaking down the difference between fat loss and weight loss, why it matters, what is it like, does it even matter? Do I need to focus on chasing one or the other? And how to know if what you're doing is actually working, if you are actually losing the right type of weight that you want to lose. Because one of the most frequent questions that I get is, and once somebody understands this, right? Once they're like, okay, I see that there's a difference between fat loss and weight loss. Now, how do I know if I'm losing fat versus weight? That's probably one of the most common questions I get. We're going to chat about that today. Okay. So let's first start with what most people think weight loss means. I think we need that basis, and then we can kind of go for to understanding like what it actually means versus like what we're trying to achieve. So again, I said this at the beginning, but I think a lot of people equate weight loss with success. They assume if they're seeing the scale go down, cool, we're in the right direction. They assume if they have a goal that has anything to do with looking better, we must need to see the scale go down. Women assume if they want to change their body, the scale must go down. Now, this is not inherently true. Depending on how you want to change your body, this might not be the case. I would say actually most of the time it's not, especially if you are someone who resonates with the term skinny fat, right? If you're somebody who does have like you are 50 pounds, 100 pounds overweight and you have a lot of excess body fat, like a lot, like and you're in an unhealthy BMI, etc., then yeah, okay, we might need to see the scale go down for health goals. But if you're somebody who you just don't feel like you have the tone and definition, you kind of feel soft, flabby, your body weight isn't necessarily like overweight, but you don't have the composition that you want, we probably don't need to lose weight. We need to build muscle and lose body fat. And those are two different things, okay? So let's first break down what weight loss on the scale actually includes because it is so much more encompassing than just body fat. All right. So I'm gonna go if you see the weight on the scale go up or down, it could be any of these things or a combination of these things. First and foremost, water. Okay. Fluid balance changes all day, every day due to so many things, including your menstrual cycle. This is why women tend to have more weight fluctuations than men, is because even just throughout the day, like our hormones are changing, our throughout the month, our cycle is changing. You could do absolutely nothing different and gain and lose the same 5 pounds during the month just based on where your cycle is because of the water you're retaining. So men and women can be very, very different there. Also, electrolyte balance, depending on how much sodium, potassium, magnesium you did or didn't have, this can impact the amount of fluid retention that you're having in your body, which can obviously impact the amount on the scale. So if you have more sodium, you might hold a little bit more water and that scale might be up. If you have less, you might lose a little bit and that scale might be down, but that has nothing to do with fat loss. It's just a part, it's weight loss for sure, but it's not, why do you care if you're really losing or gaining water? Like it's, you know what I mean? So that's one. Next thing is going to be muscle. Okay. And from the angle I want to look at here is if we're like getting excited about just weight loss on the scale, like recognize that might not be something to get excited about depending on what we're doing because muscle is typically the first thing to go when in a calorie deficit if precautions are not taken. Okay. And those precautions would be strength training and eating high protein. Both of those two things are very muscle sparing. So this is why like I very much emphasize to our clients and to anybody, to you guys listening, if you're going to go into a cut or a calorie deficit, make sure strength training is a huge part of your routine because that sends a signal to your body to keep the muscle that you do have. Same thing with eating a higher protein diet. The more protein and amino acids that you're intaking, the more likely your body is to hang on to that muscle. But it doesn't want to if it doesn't have to because muscle is very metabolically expensive. We talked about this a lot in other episodes on the podcast. And so if you're in a calorie deficit and your body has no reason to hang on to that muscle, it's going to get rid of it. So that might be some of the weight loss that you are seeing on the scale if you are not strength training, you're eating high protein. Other weight loss that you might see on the scale is going to be glycogen. And I do want to pause here for a little bit of an extra moment to explain this. So when I talk about glycogen, it kind of goes with water and fluid retention, but it's specifically relating to carbohydrates. So glycogen is how your body stores carbohydrates. When you eat carbs, it is they turn into glucose immediately in your body. If that glucose is not utilized right then and there, then it's going to be stored as glycogen. It's the storage form of glucose, aka the storage form of carbs. Okay. Now it's stored in your muscles and it's stored in your liver and it is bound to water. So glycogen, in order for a gram of glycogen to be stored, it holds 3 to 4 grams of water. So this is why if you maybe eat a little bit of a heavier carb meal, like at night or something like that, or you even cut carbs. Let's talk about it in terms of weight loss, right? If you cut carbs, you might see a large drop in the scale right away because now not only did we like, it's not that we lost fat, it's that we're not holding on to that glycogen anymore. So we're also not holding on to that water. So that's a good chunk of weight. Like if 1 gram of glycogen that you lost, you actually just lost maybe 5 grams on the scale because there was 3 to 4 grams of water attached to that, right? So that's why when people go into a calorie deficit, they will often see a bigger drop right away. I mean, you can get excited, sure, but like it ain't fat, okay? You just lost glycogen stores in water, all right? So I think understanding that is really important to recognize, like, do we really care about just weight loss? There's so many other parts. Um, and then, because the last one would be, yes, okay, of course, we like fat will be included in weight loss, but I just named 3 other things. And they're not all equal percentages, right? So like it's hard to say, everybody's different, but like you could lose, 4 pounds on the scale and potentially 3 of those 4 pounds, 1 pound might be water, 1 pound might be muscle, 1 pound might be glycogen, and 1 pound might be fat. So you get excited about losing 4 pounds of weight, but like really it's not the kind of weight that you necessarily cared or wanted to lose. All right. So that's why understanding like what weight loss actually means and you recognize, oh, that might not be what I'm actually like trying to do, or the best measurement at least of what I'm trying to do. And this is why recognizing too that like fad diets, detoxes, quick fixes, they often make the scale drop quickly, but it's not fat. It's not necessarily fat. It's most likely not fat in those quick ones, right? Because like a fad diet or a quick fix, like a lot of those include slashing calories pretty quickly. You slash calories pretty quickly, you just lost a lot of glycogen and probably muscle if you don't have the protein and strength in place. So that's what you're seeing lost on the scale. So people get excited and want to go to these quick fixes and chase these fad diets because it looks like fast results. But again, it's not actually the result that you want or are trying to achieve. So I just want to reinforce here that losing weight does not necessarily equal getting lean, toned, or strong. Because losing muscle definitely doesn't help you get lean, toned, or strong. Okay. Losing water has really nothing to do with getting lean, toned, or strong. Losing glycogen really has nothing to do with getting lean, toned, or strong. In fact, it can kind of hurt those goals because glycogen, glucose, carbs are really important to having fuel to be able to get strong. So they're not necessarily the same thing. That's the biggest takeaway I want from this section here is like losing weight and getting lean, toned, and strong, not the same thing. So we talked about what weight loss actually is. Let's talk about what fat loss actually is. All right. I'm going to give you a nice definition of the term fat loss. Okay. From, actually, I don't know where this definition is from, but we'll just call it the dictionary, the dictionary of the internet. Fat loss is defined as reducing the amount of stored body fat on your frame. Focusing on just one, I added this part. So, AKA focusing on just one of the components of weight loss. Okay. Because we named fat as the fourth component of weight loss, but there's 3 others. So it's like the zoomed in version of weight loss is fat loss. So, fat loss, I will say, may be slower for sure, but it is more meaningful. Okay. Because, yeah, if we're only measuring fat loss, it might seem slower or less amounts. Because when you lost that 5 pounds on the scale from the fad diet, let's actually use the 4 pounds, right? Because there were four things so that like allows me to evenly distribute 1 pound each. Let's just say, yeah. So let's say you lost 4 pounds, like only one of those pounds was fat. Okay, so yeah, it's going to be slower. It might seem slower if we're now only measuring fat loss. But again, do you really care if you lost a pound of water, a pound of muscle? And you do care. Like we don't want to lose a pound of muscle, right? So I also want to emphasize like why people often look better when they maybe weigh more due to fat loss and building muscle. Because remember, and I want to go back to when I said that like a lot of women, especially if you're somebody who resonates with the term skinny fat, air quotes, what you're really trying to accomplish is to build muscle and lose body fat. You want to be lean and toned. To get lean and toned, that requires muscle to give you the tone and definition, losing enough body fat and being lean enough to see that muscle. Okay. So now that we like kind of think about that, if you're somebody who that goal resonates with you, we've got to build that muscle. That's what gives you the tone and definition. Muscle has weight, okay? It's not air. So when you build that muscle, you might end up adding a little bit of weight. Then yes, we will probably go through a calorie deficit or a cutting phase to lose some of that body fat. But if you gain a pound of muscle and lose a pound of body fat, you might not have changed your weight at all. Or if you're somebody who has maybe not that much body fat to lose, but you did have a lot of muscle to gain, maybe you gain 5 pounds of muscle and we only need to lose 2 pounds of body fat to like have that composition that we want, that might mean that you end up at a heavier weight but look much better. I can use myself as a prime example, okay? I am currently about 130 pounds. I was also about 130 pounds in college. I have an extremely different body type right now than I did in college because after 7 years, I've gained, I mean, I don't have the stats in front of me, but definitely a solid bit of muscle. But I'm also the same weight. So what does that have to mean? That means that I have less body fat on me if I'm the same weight but have more muscle, right? So same weight, look much better body composition. I also want to emphasize that like muscle is lean, okay? All of it. There's like lean muscle. That's all that exists, okay? So there's no bulky muscle. When anybody like that says they feel like they're bulky or they're scared of getting bulky, typically this is the added body fat on top of the muscle. And that really comes from your nutrition, just FYI. So we don't need to be scared of building muscle and being bulky. Muscle is lean. But my point of saying this is it takes up less surface area than fat. So that's why like 5 pounds of muscle versus 5 pounds of fat, the person with the 5 pounds of muscle is gonna look a lot leaner. Like let use this as a visual. Take two people who are the exact same weight. I mean, I just gave myself as an example, but like you have a girl who's 5'5", 130 pounds, and another girl who's 5'5", 130 pounds. But one of them has 15% body fat and the other one has 30% body fat. That means the one with 30% body fat has more fat than muscle, and then vice versa on the other one. The other one is going to look leaner because even though they're same weight, she has more muscle and muscle takes up less surface area. And so she's going to just be a leaner, smaller individual because that weight is packed a lot more tightly in muscle than it is versus fat. Hopefully that makes sense. So that's why often people might weigh the same or even weigh more, but look better. And that's why we don't want to focus so much on the weight side of things, but focusing on making sure our body fat percentage is where we want it to be, our fat loss is where we want it to be. Okay. Like also too, personal, maybe an example for you. I've had a lot of clients have this example is you might be 5 pounds heavier than when we started, but they're down two pant sizes. That's fat loss. Okay. That's an example of fat loss. That's body recomposition. You obviously have lost fat, even if you're heavier. Again, that must mean that that's muscle taking up less surface area than the prior fat did that you had. And now we are smaller and our two pant sizes down. So I think that's a really good illustration. And so to tie this back around to kind of the core point I really want this episode to emphasize is that most women don't actually want weight loss. They think they do because that's what society's told us for so long. But what they're picturing at the end of weight loss, like when they think of this goal weight they have in their mind, they're picturing a body, right? They're picturing a physique, and that physique is typically toned, lean, it has muscle. They just don't really know that. And so they're getting stuck because they're chasing seeing the scale go down, which is it requires different things than seeing muscle build, right? So if you're trying to see the scale go down, yeah, you're probably eating in a big calorie deficit. You're probably maybe doing a lot of cardio. Those things don't lend themselves to building muscle. So this is why people will see the scale go down first, they're excited, and then they're like, okay, well, I got to my goal weight. I still don't really look the way I thought, so I guess I need to lose another 5 pounds. I guess I need to lose another 5 pounds. And they're never happy. Well, it's because you're chasing the wrong goal. And we need to understand that because to know that your goal is to actually build muscle and like be lean and toned, that requires a different input, right? Potentially eating more, strength training, etc. So now we have to maneuver to those things. So that's the difference between fat loss and weight loss. All right. Now let's talk about why the scale is lying to you based on what your goal is and what to track instead. So, one thing to also know is that like the scale fluctuates every second, daily, hourly. This is based on how much water you've consumed, how much water is literally in your stomach, how much water you're retaining, based on also like the electrolytes that you've had. This can be impact of your hormone, different times of the day. Like just let's just even just take cortisol alone, for example. Your cortisol is supposed to change throughout the day. It's supposed to be high when you wake up. It's supposed to get lower in the evening. Like even cortisol can affect like your weight, what you're retaining, etc. And it changes all day, every day. So, I mean, yeah, they're always fluctuating. Digestion, food that you eat, whether you have ate today, whether you haven't, the sleep that you got, the sleep that you didn't get, like all these things can make the scale fluctuate day to day and hour to hour. So, this is why I always recommend like weighing yourself once per day, and it should be first thing in the morning before you do anything, because that way that we at least have the consistency of most variables. But remember, there's even things day to day that we can't control. Where you're at in your cycle. Did you eat dinner a little bit later the night before than you did? Like usually, you have to consider all of these things and not get so affected when you see that number in the morning, because it's going to fluctuate. You could do everything exactly perfect, it's still going to fluctuate. Okay. So yeah, just remembering like, hey, that 2 pound spike that you saw in the morning, like, did you eat dinner later last night? That's not fat, baby. That's your dinner, okay? So what you should actually be tracking to really see your progress and make sure you're losing fat instead of just weight is progress pictures. Okay. I cannot echo progress pictures a lot. I know people don't love to take them. They're not comfortable. I get it. But I promise you, you will be so grateful, A, when you get the fire transformation that you're after and being able to look back and put those together. You will be so happy. But also, week to week, really being able to see, okay, do I have a little bit more definition? Am I seeing like kind of my waist come in? Even if the scale's going up, do I look tighter in certain areas? Like you need to be able to visually look and see that. Measurements are going to be another great thing, especially because oftentimes we'll see maybe weight stay the same or weight even go up a little bit, but our pants are getting bigger, our waist size is going down, our circumferences are going down. Our like maybe some areas like our arms, like our biceps are getting a little bit bigger in a good way, right? Like we're building muscle. We want to be able to see that over time. So I'd highly recommend taking measurements. How clothes fit, it's a little bit subjective, but like I think it's a great way of recognizing, oh, I fit into these clothes that I didn't used to fit in. Great, amazing. We must be getting leaner then. We are taking up less surface area because muscle takes up less surface area, and we've obviously lost fat that takes up more surface area. Strength in the gym is another great one. If we are seeing ourselves get stronger in the gym, there's like we're building muscle. There's no other way around it. You can't get stronger without having that muscle adaptation. So if your weight's staying the same, or even going up a little, and you're wondering, okay, or if your weight's going down, even if your weight's going down, but you're like, okay, did I lose weight? Like, did I lose water? Did I lose muscle? Or did I lose fat? Well, if you're still getting stronger in the gym and your weight's going down, then you definitely didn't lose muscle. Okay. You're probably even building muscle. So that means you're definitely losing a good bit of fat, because we can't get stronger if we're losing muscle. And then other things would be just like energy, confidence, digestion, measure these things. Like, how are they feeling? If they're moving in a positive direction, we're on the right track. Because at the end of the day, the version of you that you're chasing has great energy, has great confidence, is having good digestion, daily bowel movements, is getting stronger, is looking good in pictures. Like, so these are the things we want to focus on. Who cares what the number on the scale says? You care about what the number on the scale says because you're associating that positive person with that number. You might be wrong though. That person that you're envisioning might not be the number that you're thinking. So stop caring about the number. Care about what you are associating the number with anyway. And if we're going towards that. I think that's really it. Everything I wanted to cover. I think I went over, how to tell if you're losing fat, not just weight. Your clothes are fitting better. You're feeling tighter, leaner. You're getting stronger. Again, you can't get stronger without building or keeping muscle. So if you're losing weight and you're getting stronger, it's fat that you're losing. Or even if you're maintaining or gaining weight but looking more toned, okay, great, you're building muscle, okay, and losing body fat. You're just maybe building muscle faster than you're losing body fat, which is not a bad thing. Everybody is different. Some people have more muscle to gain to look the way they want than they have fat to lose. Okay, so it's okay. Like your dream body might be heavier than you are now. We have to break that connection that if I have anything I want to change about my body, I must lose weight, or the my dream body must be lighter than I am now. That is not the case. I promise. Like my dream body was heavier than I've been at other points in my life. Okay. So that is all I will say. But yeah, fat loss is the real goal. Remember that, okay? Sustainable changes beat fast drops. Sustainable changes is what's going to lead to fat loss. Fast, quick fixes is what's going to lead to weight loss. And don't freak out over a fluctuating scale, okay? It doesn't tell the full story. Remember all of the things that I mentioned that are better measurements than just the scale, okay? Your body is still changing even when the scale isn't. Keep lifting, keep fueling, trust the process. If this helped you shift your mindset at all, I would love, 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 and appreciate if you shared this episode on social media. Tag me so I can see it, and thank you. Send it to a friend, send it to maybe a mom who has some of this stigma that I know like the other generations have too. Just share it. I would really, really appreciate it. And if you want help getting off of the weight loss hamster wheel and getting onto the fat loss better wheel, you know where to find me. So thanks guys for listening. Hope you have a great rest of your day, and I'll see you on the flip side. Bye.